You've checked your oil 100 times, and there's a good chance that every single time you've been doing it wrong. Not because you're careless, not because you don't know your way around a car, but because nobody ever explained what the dipstick is actually measuring, what conditions need to be met for that measurement to mean anything, and what happens to your engine when you act on a reading that was never accurate to begin with. Today, we're going over 7 specific mistakes that most drivers make every time they check their oil. We're counting down from 7 to 1, and I'm going to warn you right now. Number 1 is not what you're expecting. It's the most common mistake on this list. It's the one that causes the most engine damage, and it's something you've almost certainly done every single time you've ever checked your oil. Mistake number 7. Mistake number 7. Checking your oil when your car isn't on perfectly level ground. This one sounds too simple to matter, but the reason it matters is not what most people assume. When your car is sitting on a slope, even a gentle one, even a driveway that tilts just 3 or 4 degrees, the oil inside the oil pan shifts. The oil pan is the reservoir at the very bottom of your engine, where all the oil collects when the engine is off. It's not a perfectly symmetrical container. It's shaped around the crankshaft and other components underneath the engine, so it tends to be deeper on one side than the other. And the oil distributes itself according to gravity. Here's the problem. The dipstick tube, the tube you slide the dipstick down into, enters the oil pan from a fixed position. If your car is nose down on a slope, the oil shifts toward the front of the pan and away from the dipstick entry point. The dipstick doesn't reach enough oil. It reads low. If your car is tilted to left, same thing. The oil moves left. The dipstick reads lower than the actual level. You think you're low on oil? You add oil. And you've just made the engine's oil level higher than it should be. Overfilling an engine with oil is not a minor inconvenience. I'm going to come back to this point multiple times before we reach mistake number 1, because it's something that drivers consistently underestimate. Most people think the only oil problem worth worrying about is having too little. But too much oil causes its own category of serious damage, and almost every mistake on this list can lead you there. We'll break down exactly what overfilling does to an engine when we reach the number 1 spot. For now, before you check your oil, make sure the car is on flat, level ground. Not approximately flat, actually flat. If you're in doubt, pull the car forward a few feet onto a level surface. It takes 30 seconds, and it means the difference between a reading you can trust and a reading that sends you in completely the wrong direction. It's also worth knowing that the slope doesn't have to be dramatic to affect the reading. A driveway that tilts just enough to let rainwater run off is enough to move oil in the pan. Most people never even think of their driveway as sloped because it doesn't look sloped from the outside. But from the oil pan's perspective, a few degrees is all it takes. Make this a habit. Level ground every time without exception. Mistake number 6, not pushing the dipstick all the way in before you take the reading. Most people follow the same sequence when they check their oil. Pull the dipstick out, wipe it clean with a rag or a paper towel, put it back in, pull it back out, and read it. That sequence is correct, but the step that gets rushed, the step people don't think twice about, is putting it back in. The dipstick has to go all the way in, all the way down until it seats against the bottom of the tube. The reason you wipe it clean and reinsert it before reading is to get a fresh, accurate measurement. The oil film from the first pull doesn't count because some of it has dripped off the sides of the tube during removal. The whole point of the reinsertion is to get a clean reference. But if the dipstick doesn't go all the way in, the tip isn't reaching down to where the oil surface actually is. It stops short. When you pull it out again, you're reading a level that's lower than what's really in the engine. This mistake is almost invisible when you're making it. The dipstick went in, the dipstick came out. You have a reading. But that reading is wrong, and it's wrong in the direction that makes you think you need to add oil. On most cars, a fully seated dipstick will give you a slight resistance as it hits the bottom of the tube. Some cars have a small clip or a notch that clicks into place. If your car has a curved dipstick tube, and many do, because the tube has to route around other engine components to reach the pan, you need to follow that curve on the way back in. Forcing the dipstick in at an angle means it hits the wall of the tube partway down and stops there. You feel resistance and assume it's seated. It isn't. Guide it in slowly, follow the natural path, and make sure you feel it reach the end. The whole oil check takes 3 minutes. Don't rush the one step that determines whether the reading is worth anything. And one more thing on this point, some dipsticks have a loop or a T-handle at the top. When you reinsert, keep your hand relaxed and let the dipstick follow the tube's path, rather than pushing it straight down with force. If you force it, you'll bend it slightly over time, which makes it harder to seat correctly on every future check. And here's what I want you to notice about the first 2 mistakes on this list. Both of them produce a reading that's lower than the actual level. Both of them push you in the same direction, toward adding oil you don't need. That pattern holds for almost every mistake we're covering today, which means mistake number 5 is going to feel very familiar. Mistake number 5, reading only one side of the dipstick. Hold the dipstick in your hand and look at the lower end, the end that has the oil on it. That end is flat. It has two faces, a front face and a back face. And here is something that surprises nearly every driver who hears it for the first time. The oil level you see on one face is often different from the oil level you see on the other. The reason is surface tension and the way oil clings to metal. When you pull a flat metal rod through a tube and it comes out into the air, the oil film doesn't behave identically on both surfaces. The speed of withdrawal, the angle the dipstick travels through the tube, the temperature of the oil, the smoothness of the metal, all of these affect how the oil clings to each face differently. One side might show oil right at the max mark. The other side might show it noticeably below that. The rule is simple, and it never changes. Always use the lower of the two readings. That is the accurate reading. The higher reading is surface tension being generous. The lower reading is the actual oil level. If one side shows max and the other side shows the oil halfway between min and max, your oil level is halfway between min and max, not at max. Acting on the higher reading would mean your engine is fine when it may not be. Most people pull the dipstick out and instinctively read the face that happens to be facing them. Sometimes that's the higher reading, sometimes it's the lower one. It's luck of the draw. The solution is to build one habit. Every time you pull the dipstick, rotate it and check both faces before you decide what the level is. It adds 5 seconds, and it means you're making decisions based on the real number, not the flattering one. If you want to go one step further, always hold the dipstick horizontally when you're reading it, not at an angle, not tilted, flat, and level. Tilting the dipstick after you pull it causes the oil to run up or down the rod before you've had a chance to read it, which shifts the apparent level away from where it actually was. Pull it out, hold it flat immediately, read both sides, use the lower number. That is the complete and accurate method. Mistake number 4, looking at the level and completely ignoring the color. The dipstick gives you two pieces of information simultaneously. The level tells you how much oil is in the engine. The color tells you the condition of that oil. Most drivers use the first piece of information and ignore the second entirely. That's leaving half the value of the check on the table every single time. Fresh engine oil is amber. It looks like light honey or dark tea if you hold it up to the light. That's what new oil looks like when it first goes in. As the oil does its job, circulating through the engine at high temperature, lubricating metal surfaces, absorbing heat, picking up combustion byproducts, it begins to darken. Light brown, then medium brown, then nearly black. Darkening on its own is not automatically a problem. Oil is designed to collect contaminants and hold them in suspension rather than letting them deposit on engine surfaces. That process naturally darkens the oil. Full synthetic oils, in particular, can look very dark well before they've actually degraded because they're formulated to hold more of those contaminants in suspension. So black oil is not automatically dead oil. But there's a difference between dark oil that is still functional and oil that is broken down to the point where it can no longer do its job properly. Oil that looks and feels thick, gritty, and almost sludge-like on the dipstick tip. That oil has given up. It is no longer protecting your engine. There are two other things to look for when you check the color. First, if the oil looks milky, creamy, or has a gray or light brown foam to it, stop driving the car. That appearance means coolant is mixing into the oil, and that is a serious mechanical failure, most likely a blown head gasket. A few miles of driving on coolant-contaminated oil can destroy an engine that would otherwise be fine. Get the car to a mechanic before you drive it anywhere. Second, if you can see or feel tiny metallic flakes in the oil on the dipstick tip, small shiny particles that catch the light, that is metal debris from inside the engine. Metal in the oil means something is wearing faster than it should. That warrants a professional diagnosis. I had a customer come through the shop. This was years ago. His car was a mid-90s Camry that had just turned 40,000 an hour mate. He checked his oil every single month without fail. He was proud of it. But when I pulled the dipstick on that car, the oil was jet black, thick and tacky. When I asked him when he'd last changed it, he looked at me and said he thought checking the level was the same as maintaining the oil. He'd been checking it religiously and never changed it once. The level had always looked fine. The oil had been slowly dying for tens of thousands of miles. The bearings on that engine were worn far beyond where they should have been at that mileage. The repairs cost more than the car was worth. The level was fine. The oil was not. Check the color every time. The dipstick is trying to tell you two things. Make sure you're listening to both of them. Mistake number 3, believing that anywhere between min and max is equally acceptable. You've probably been told this your whole life. As long as it's between the marks, you're fine. And that statement is not technically wrong. You're not going to seize your engine with the oil at the midpoint between min and max. But treating that range as a flat zone where every position is equivalent is a misunderstanding of what those marks actually mean. The distance between min and max on your dipstick represents approximately 1 quart of oil. That is the difference between an engine running at its full designed oil volume and an engine that is 1 full quart low. Your engine was engineered to run with a specific amount of oil in the system. That specific amount is what puts the level at the max mark. The engineers calculated that volume to maintain oil pressure across all operating temperatures and loads. When you run consistently at the min mark, you're running with 1 quart less oil than the design intended. That remaining oil circulates faster, heats up more quickly, and gets less time in the pan to cool down before it's pulled back through the engine again. The thermal stress on the oil is higher. Across one drive, it makes no measurable difference. Across months and years of consistently operating at the low end of that range, you are degrading your oil faster and adding friction and stress to components. Keep it close to max, not over max, but close. That is where your engine was designed to live. Mistake number 2, adding oil without knowing exactly what's going in or how much. You've done everything right up to this point. Level ground, dipstick fully seated, both sides checked, color looks okay, but the level is low and you need to add oil. Every engine has an oil specification, a viscosity rating that will be printed on the oil filler cap or in your owner's manual. That number is not a suggestion. It's a specification based on the internal tolerances of your specific engine. The oil viscosity is calibrated to maintain a continuous protective film between metal surfaces. If you add an oil that's significantly thicker or thinner than the specification, you're either creating resistance or allowing metal-to-metal contact. Beyond viscosity, there's the question of oil type. Mixing conventional oil into synthetic compromises those properties. Over time, you're reducing the protection the oil provides. Always add in small increments. Check the dipstick between each addition. Wait a minute between additions to let the oil run down into the pan before you read the level again. Mistake number 1, checking your oil immediately after turning the engine off. When your engine is running, the oil pump is circulating oil under pressure through every part of the engine. When you turn the engine off, the oil doesn't disappear instantly. It drains back down into the oil pan. That process takes time. Until that process is complete, the oil pan does not contain all the oil. The dipstick measures what is in the oil pan. If you check the dipstick too soon, it shows a partial volume. That reads as low oil. You add oil. Later, all the oil returns to the pan, and now the engine is overfilled. Overfilled oil gets whipped into foam by the crankshaft. Foam cannot properly lubricate engine components. Overfilling also increases pressure inside the engine and can cause leaks. Check your oil cold or wait at least 10 minutes after shutting off the engine. That ensures the oil has drained back and gives you an accurate reading. 7 mistakes, all of them fixable starting today. Number 7, check on level ground. Number 6, seat the dipstick all the way down. Number 5, check both faces and use the lower reading. Number 4, read the color and consistency. Number 3, aim to stay close to max. Number 2, know what you're adding and add slowly. And number 1, wait before checking your oil.